Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live, and we are local. St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the former president of JBL Financial Services. I'm a 45-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And usually, I'm joined by my crew, my kids. My oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, certified financial planner and wealth manager. And my son-in-law, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist, as well as financial advisor. And what we do is we help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step plan, a real strategy that has several goals in mind. First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do in retirement. And third is we're going to address their health care needs, like helping them choose the right plan to supplement their Medicare coverage as well as Social Security. And when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Excuse me. Folks, again, good morning to 4 inches of snow. What can you say? It was fun coming in this morning, and I know people are asking me, when are you going to Florida, Jeff? When are you going to Florida, Jeff? Well, Tuesday, so I missed it, but it's all good. So, again, we are live and local. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'm solo this morning, so I need a little help, so don't hesitate to give us a call. We would love to hear from you. And there are also lots of ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week. The easiest thing is go to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us section where, if you'd like to arrange it for a coaching session, whether it's for Medicare or retirement planning, estate planning, or both, our staff will be happy to get back in touch with you. And we do see people every single week in doing that. Also, while you're on our site, you might want to click on the floating icon. That's usually the bottom left side of the screen. It's called the Coach's Corner, our newsletter. We love to send it to you every single month by email. And we are in the last week, actually last day, right, of November. And so just take a little bit of a summary on what this month's newsletter is. And I thought it was kind of fun because it was really diverse and at the same time, I think, provided some very interesting and timely information. Many of our clients share this with not only their children, but also their parents and other folks that they like. And we're sending out thousands of these every single month, so we love to do that for you. The first article is traditional versus Roth IRAs. Is there a preference by generation? And actually the answer is yes, there is. The youngsters, they prefer Roth to traditional IRA because I think they've been in the Kool-Aid machine too long. But folks that are a little bit older, maybe the baby boomers, Generation Xers, et cetera, what they're doing is they want to put more into their traditional pre-tax accounts because they're earning more. They need the tax deduction. So we do have a nice infographic there for you to take a look at, and you'll see that pretty much follows what I had been discussing. Article number 2 is finding balance in the sandwich generation. You know, the sandwich generation are typically considered now baby boomers, those folks that are not only taking care of sometimes their parents, but also providing aid to their children. So they're sandwiched right in the middle. And that's okay. Some points that we like to make in this article and we thought would be important for you to consider is, number one is you want to make sure that you're able to communicate effectively with those family members and also to set boundaries. You know, as an example, most of our clients that are retiring, many of them are grandmas and grandpas. Sometimes they're great grandmas and grandpas. I'm still waiting, but it's okay. That'll happen. That's not a problem. And communicating those boundaries in terms of how much time you're going to be spending, especially when it comes to providing care, I think is extremely important. Also, understanding that there are a lot of community resources that are available to you. You should leverage those, not only for your parents in many cases, but also especially when it comes to caregiving. And then finally, if we are looked at, especially in the sandwich generation, helping others, especially financially, we want to make sure that our house is in very good order because you can't help them if you can't help yourself. So that's an important thing to consider. Article number 3 is, are you prepared for the high cost of dying? Now, again, my son-in-law picked this one. Not a lot of fun. It's, again, we talk about the cost of dying. There's just other expenses involved other than funeral arrangements. And we've gone through some of the administrative and legal costs. There could be estate taxes that are involved, et cetera. And we know that the end of life, typically, from a healthcare perspective, is usually the most expensive time in anybody's life. So, not a bad article. The last one, and this is one that I'd like to spend a few moments on this morning, while we're waiting for your calls and your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line, is beneficiary designations. Who gets the dough? Well, we know that, and I think it's important to remember and consider that your beneficiary designations, those that you make through your retirement plans, through your life insurance, through annuity contracts, etc., are going to control where the money goes. Your will, your trust assets don't. Your will or your trust don't control those. Those are actually controlled by your beneficiary designations. You're making legal representations of where you want your money to go, and the plan sponsors, those custodians, if you want to, really have to follow that. What I wanted to talk just a few minutes about this morning is pro rata versus per stirpes. Most times in making these beneficiary elections, you have an opportunity to either say that I want, and let me give you a concrete example. Let's just say that Joe and Sally have 3 children, and those 3 children are currently their contingent beneficiaries. That is, let's say this is an IRA account. Usually what happens is Joe will name Sally as his primary beneficiary. Sally will name Joe. If one of them predeceases the other, the contingent beneficiaries or secondary beneficiaries, if you want to think that, move up and they get in line and they become the primaries. Well, with those primaries, let's just assume for a moment that of the 3 children, 2 of them are married and 1 isn't. The question becomes, do we want, if one of those children were to predecease their mom and dad, would we want their proceeds to go to their siblings? Or if they're married, do we want that to stay inside of their family tree? Go to the siblings, the remainder, those people that are still the survivors, that's pro rata. Stay inside the family tree, that's per stirpes. This is something that fortunately has been updated through most beneficiary forms. And we find that, and we're really paying very careful attention to this because many of our clients' children are getting married. Many of them are having grandchildren. So their familial relationships are really changing, and making sure that at least once a year you're checking on those designations, that's important. We do this at every coaching session with clients that we're visiting with, and then we do a whole big, and this is the year we're going to do a big review to make sure that we haven't missed on anybody's changes. Very important because you want your wishes basically to be fulfilled. And that's where it is. So, and again, we call that the Coach's Corner. Again, easy to access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon, and we're happy to send this to you every single month by email. If your computer's on the fritz, we'll be happy to send it to you for snail mail, but you have to call us or hit the contact. Well, actually, if your computer's on the fritz, you can't hit the contact us section. You have to give us a call at our office, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. We'll be happy to send that to you by snail mail. And we love to do that. And just as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And again, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun, financially successful, and hopefully snow-free retirement. It's all good. I'm going to take a look this morning, and I'm looking at the text line that says, "Do you have on your record someone wanting to buy or bid on a Bud Light pool table?" Nope. The answer is sorry, not the yard sale. Can't help you on that one. Very good. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the not yet heated up text line, which is cool. So I guess while we're waiting for your calls and texts and before our first break, what I'd like to do is hit my first subject of the day, because I always like to say what's more important is on what's your mind as compared to what's on ours, because we were always thinking about stuff for you. And I thought it'd be nice because we just had my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, especially from a foodie point of view. No ethnic food. It's just turkey stuffing and other things that may be family specials that you happen to have, which are kind of fun. Every family usually has some type of a dish that's kind of unique and something that's gone through the generations. And, Thanksgiving for me is, I always like to think that there are just a lot of things to be thankful for other than my expandable waistband in my pants. So, it's family time. It's generations coming together, enjoying usually a gigantic meal, and also enjoying each other in generally a safe and a very friendly environment. And I would tell you that of all the Thanksgivings that I've celebrated, this one I have to tell you was the best because it was really kind of different. Instead of doing the traditional meal at home, we actually went to Norwood Hills Country Club, where I happen to be a member. We did it during lunchtime, so it was we had a great buffet. The service was great, and the best part was no mess in our kitchen, no leftovers that we were going to throw out within 3 days either, and it was a lot of fun. I was joined by Aaron and by both of my children and their spouses, and it was kind of fun is that everybody ate. We sat around for about 2 hours, went home, took a nap, woke up for the end of the football game, and then everybody came back for the rest of the day, and we had appetizers and fun stuff like that, lots of desserts. But we also played Monopoly, and as you can imagine, it's a pretty cutthroat game at my house. I happen to have had 3 financial planners, 2 doctors, and a lawyer all played at the game. So, as you can imagine, there was a lot of jaw-jacking going on and some family intrigue, which actually is they always want to gang up on Dad, okay? And, Monopoly really is it's a war game. You're claiming your real estate, you're making deals, you're bankrupting your opponents. It's a skill game, but also takes a lot of planning and a little bit of luck. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because retirement planning is really not a whole lot different. When we're creating a game plan for you, we like to start with, what is your lifestyle? How much does it cost for you to maintain the life that you have? What do you spend every month in both living and lifestyle expenses? And at the end, truly isn't what your gross income is, it's what your take-home pay is, because that's what all of us live on. So that's important to really kind of say, okay, where are we at? Because for us, that's the beginning of the planning perspective. It isn't how much money you have; it's how much money do you need. Also, do you have the resources to deal with emergencies in cash or in near cash assets? And what is the optimal amount that you feel that you need as a reserve so that you can feel comfortable and not necessarily be in a position where you have to invade your retirement assets or go out and borrow money? Having that cushion, we like to call it the vault, is extremely important. So finding out how much you need to live on a lifestyle, fixed income, fixed basis, how much reserve do you need? And then we also want to make sure that we're factoring in contingencies. What capital, non-recurring expenses do we need to factor in? And when? And what we're really talking about here are home improvements, maybe new automobile replacements, educational expenses, maybe extraordinary vacations. And, obviously identifying those, but at the same time also putting a date and maybe what a dollar goal is. So we can integrate this into a basic game plan. And then finally, and this is really the cart instead of the horse. The horse really is always your numbers. I like to call it the algebra side. But then it's the art. Is your portfolio designed to deliver the income that you need to replace that portion of income, your paycheck, that isn't covered by your other fixed sources, whether it's Social Security, whether it's pensions, rents, part-time earnings, whatever it would be. Trying to put the pieces of this puzzle together in such a way so that from our planning perspective, we want to make sure that we can deliver 100% of the income that you had, net income that is, take-home pay, the day after you retire as the day before you retire, because that's your life. And then obviously deal with any type of capital improvements that we need. The question that you have to ask yourself, and obviously many people have done it because they've called us after listening to the show. They become clients. They've come in to visit for coaching sessions. Does it make sense for you to have a professional on your team to help manage this game plan? If the most valuable asset that you have is your time, can a professional help you manage or reduce or minimize or eliminate that time that you need for planning? Some folks would say yes, and obviously they're seeking professional help. Other folks are do-it-yourselfers, and that's cool. But this is a war game. It makes sense to have a general that's equipped to help you go into battle to do this. So, again, that was just kind of some of my Thanksgiving thoughts. Again, our phone lines are open. I'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Okay, I do have a text on board here. It's a little, unfortunately, I'm not used to reading upside down, so you'll apologize here. But what is a good amount to save as a percentage-wise? I've heard 50, 30, 20 before. What do you think? Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with what 50, 30, 20 means. But when we talk about saving, I think it really changes as you age. When you're younger, you typically have, and I'm talking about being an adult in their 20s, 30s, really truthfully almost into their 40s. They have a lot of demands on their income. First of all, we're beginning to accumulate assets. Most of those you can't do in cash, like a car, like a home. Maybe you're also paying for college educational debts or other debts that you might have. Generally, many folks start families. Kids are very expensive, and truthfully more expensive as they get older. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of demands on your money. So the savings element is not as easy to do. when we look at saving, what I would certainly say in those ages, in that age range, what you're really talking about in terms of saving is making sure you at least start with having a vault of money that can cover you if for some reason you change jobs, you lose your job, you leave your job. Having anywhere up to 6 months of your current net income available in cash is probably a good place to start. Number two, in terms of savings, is with your retirement plans. If you aren't self-employed, you're working for somebody else. If they offer a retirement plan to you and they're offering a matching contribution to you as a certain percentage, you always want to take advantage of that match. That's free money. The employer's putting that in for you. They're doing it on a pre-tax basis. You're not picking it up as income. It grows income tax deferred. The only way you get that money is by matching that amount. So whether it's 3% or 5%, whatever it would be, that would be a very good thing to do. By the time you're into your 50s, in most people's cases, their children are grown. What's also happened is that they're either dealing with college educational expenses or they're not. They're making decisions on how much they want to participate with that expense or not. And that's generally when we see folks being able to really ramp up the percentage of your savings. Well, there's two ways to do that. Number one is that obviously you can make more pre-tax contributions, or if you feel like, or if you have Roth 401k available to you, you could put some into Roth, which is fine. And I would only do that if I don't have a large vault, because to me, Roth assets, which are income tax free, if you've held them for at least 5 years, you're over 59 and a half. That's cash. That can become cash, and it can become cash without any income tax expense associated with it. So that could be considered part of your vault. And with many folks, try to talk them into that because they don't have a lot of after-tax cash. That's usually the time once your college educational obligations are typically done, if you do have any, is where you're able to ramp up your savings. And that's cool. That's the one side. The other side is dealing with expenses. Can you pay off that car within a reasonable time period? Is this maybe the time where we can ramp up our payments to get rid of our mortgage? Because we know in retirement, the outflows, what you're spending, are more important to consider than, if you want to say, the inflows. It's easier for most folks to pay off debt than it is to grow capital. It's also less risky, number one. And number two, it's just easier to do. So getting rid of those expenses or reducing the outflows that you have before retirement then puts you in a position where, hey, the amount that you may need in terms of cash flow is reduced. And at the same time, the amount of capital you may need is also less, which is cool. So I don't know if that really helps in terms of the question, but I did have a follow-up here, which was 50% is for needs, 30% for fun, and 20% savings. I've not heard of this 50-30-20, but the truth is it doesn't make sense to me. What happens is that, frankly, your needs always have to be first because you need to pay your obligations. I never would put fun in front of savings per se. I mean, typically we all have a certain level of fun that we're spending money on, but you need to save before you can actually prudently invest. So having that backup there for you, once your vault is basically full. And by the way, as you get older, it will increase. There's more of a comfort in cash. And obviously, as your net worth increases, having a percentage of that in cash or near cash assets can be important for many reasons. One of them principally is, the feeling of security. But the second one is it gives you more opportunities to make better decisions. And what I mean by that is that things come, if things happen or you want things to happen, like maybe a second home, or we're looking at helping somebody with either, the educational expenses, whether it's pre-college or college expenses. having after-tax assets available to do that gives you the opportunities to make decisions on those things. When we have to go in and invade our retirement assets and pay taxes, it isn't as easy. And frankly, it's also a lot more expensive. So making sure that that vault is full is extremely important. What's also important at this moment is I've got to take break number 1 of the hour. So do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more straight talk on retirement after these messages.
Okay, so the tree is up, but it's tilting towards the side door. All right, look, you got to get it straight. Go to Schnarr's Hardware, Clayton Road in Ladue or in Webster on Lockwood. Schnarr's Hardware has 2 locations, and they have everything for the holidays, whether it's extra extension cords, maybe a couple of extra lights, last-minute gift. Oh, Aunt Sally's coming. She's bringing you a gift. I got to get something. Schnarr's Hardware will help you out. You need to put the lawn to bed? Yeah, Schnarr's Hardware has all sorts of winterized fertilizers to help you get through these winter months. You see, at Schnarr's Hardware, it's more than just a friendly neighborhood hardware store. It's a part of Americana, and it has brought St. Louisans together for years. So when you walk into Schnarr's Hardware, you'll notice the customer service is great, the smell is great, the popcorn is free. Schnarr's Hardware. Happy holidays from Schnarr's Hardware. Make sure your holiday is complete with a trip to Schnarr's Hardware. Schnarr's Hardware, Merry Christmas.
Giving Tuesday is December 2nd, 2025. Giving Tuesday is a day of impact through global giving. We hope you consider making Backstoppers part of your Giving Tuesday plans. When you donate, you're honoring our fallen and catastrophically injured heroes and standing by their families. The holiday season can be a difficult time for our families as they continue without their loved one. Your gift makes a difference and provides hope. Donate at backstoppers.org/Giving Tuesday.
Concerned about where your retirement is heading? Is it on track to meet your needs and goals? Are taxes and inflation a constant worry? Well, you can join Jerry Means for What Retirement Means to You, powered by Means Financial Group, and find out how their team can help guide you to that retirement you've always dreamed of. Listen to What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means, Sunday mornings at 10 on KTRS, The Talk of St. Louis. More details at meansfinancialgroup.com.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
I love Chicago. Oh, it's a great song. Well, it's 9:33 here on the Big 550 KTRS with Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. The old man's fine solo this morning, so give me a help. Give me a little help if you can. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. We, as in me, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the usually chatty text line. So we'd love to hear from you. In our last segment, talked a little bit about kind of what are the basics of creating what we see fundamentally creating game plan, and also it's got a little discussion about saving. So what I'd like to do while we're waiting for your texts and calls is to talk about a visit that I had a few weeks ago with Joe and Sally. Joe's 63, and he's a chemical engineer here in the city, and his wife Sally is 60. And she's a middle-level executive at a brewing company that used to be owned in St. Louis, but is now owned by a foreign concern. So when we visit with folks, our first question always is, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you hope we can help you. Let's get out on the table, right? They had explained that they wanted to retire together in 5 years. Sally plans to begin now to reduce her hours to help with daycare for their new granddaughter. It's not unusual, which is kind of fun. So their question was, what are the things that we can do to replace that $3,500 per month that we will be losing because Sally's net pay is going down? So, the way to answer that question, we really needed to sit down and do a reasonably thorough review of their resources, their information, and we were able to do that together. First, we know that Sally is eligible and could access her pension benefits at age 60. However, we know that if she did that, she would lose the compounding effect, which is approximately 6% per year between 60 and 65. That benefit, if she were to elect it today, would be approximately $2,200 per month. Sally could, obviously, since she could if she isn't really full-time employee any longer, or if she even decides to separate from service, or because she's old enough, she could do an in-service distribution. She could take control of her 401k by doing a tax-free transfer to a traditional IRA. She could then make transfers from that IRA distributions to herself, which would be taxable, of course. And that would be easy, another way to open, or basically to close the gap, as it would be. We also know that Joe is making approximately, he's making the maximum contributions that he can to his 401k today, which is awesome. However, he could, in fact, reduce those contributions because later in our analysis, which we'll go through, we had determined that they had sufficient capital to do income replacement. So he could reduce his contribution to a level that would capture and continue to capture his employer's matching contribution, which only makes sense, right? You don't ever walk away from the free money. At the same time, he would have a higher net take-home pay, which is kind of cool. And we know that the maximum contribution for this year is approximately $25,000. In his case, we could actually increase his net pay by approximately $1,300. So between as a combination option, if Sally were to elect her pension benefit, and Joe was to reduce his contribution to his 401k, between the two of those, that would net them out at $3,500, which is basically the number that they need to replace Sally's income, because she's going to become a part-time babysitter, which is kind of cool. So that's nice. But then the question, then we have a few other questions that follow. Big one is, how do we deal with health insurance for Sally until she becomes eligible for Social Security benefits, or I'm sorry, for Medicare benefits at 65, which we know is 5 years away? Well, as Joe's continuing to work full-time, she could elect to go on to Joe's plan, which is what's considered a qualifying event, which means that if she was to be added within 30 days of the time that she is no longer eligible for her plan, because she has a reduced number of hours, there would be no pre-existing conditions, limitations if she enrolls. That's easy, right? And Sally could, at that point, remain on Joe's plan until he terminates his coverage. And and if he did it before 65, they both have COBRA rights, so they could elect coverage, which would continue until the time that they're then eligible for Medicare. So, and if it happened even quicker for Sally, because she has 5 years, if the 18 months of COBRA runs out, well, then we can elect to go to the Affordable Care Act plans, which are guarantee issue as well, and until she's Medicare eligible. But figuring out what that path is and really having a good discussion about them, they had some peace of mind. They felt a little bit more confident about that particular part of the path. And if we are going to replace Sally's income for 5 years, really ultimately came down to this question: can we stay? Are we both going to be able to stay on track so that when Joe decides to retire, he can do so as well? So let's talk a little bit about their numbers. And again, what we like to do is we like to ask folks to be extremely realistic. We don't really entertain we can save money by not doing this. We can save money by not doing that. We love you, but we don't believe you. Your spending habits are your spending habits. We don't want to interrupt them. If you want to interrupt them, that's fine, but I think it's more realistic to say, how much are we spending today? And number two is, how do we match that spending pattern? So in their particular case, they now are currently spending about $9,000 per month. Naturally, we need to increase that by 20% for federal income tax and state income taxes, which would give them a pre-tax need of approximately $10,800 per month, or just shy of $130,000 a year. Their combined Social Security benefits at normal retirement age is $6,000 per month. Sally's pension benefit, again, is running about $2,000 or so a month at age 60, so that their total fixed income they would be receiving, her pension, both their Social Securities, would be running at approximately $8,000 per month. So they're short at that point about $2,800 or $34,000 per year, and that we know, using the 4% prudent withdrawal rule, we divide that $34,000 by 4%. The capital they would need to reasonably generate and maintain that income over a long period of time using a 4% withdrawal rate would be approximately $850,000. Joe has $1.8 million in his 401k, and Sally has $900,000. So at $2.74 million, I mean, they're obviously rock stars. They've got it covered. Won't be necessarily an issue for them. At the same time, because of the amount of capital they had and the cash flows that they have available to them, which they have the option to choose the timing of electing these, I think that they have some other options that really became a little bit more clear to us. Because they have those assets, reducing Joe's contribution to his 401k plan makes sense. Totally, because we don't need to continue to accumulate capital. We can take that money home, and therefore it will help fill that gap. Also, if we delay taking Sally's Social Security until her normal retirement age at 67, they'll need to withdraw an additional principal amount, etc., of approximately $180,000, which is really $3,000 per month times 12 months times 5 years. Again, what the Social Security benefit would have been. That's less than 1% of their total capital base. That also keeps them very well inside the 4% withdrawal rate, if you think about it, because what we're looking at here is, they've got $2.74 million of assets, and they're only looking at making a withdrawal at this point of approximately $34,000. I mean, that's like 1.3. So they're deep inside the safety zone, which is wonderful for them. So my conclusion was, go have fun, Grandma. We'll watch your cash flow for you. And then what's neat is that the timing of all these decisions, whether it's do I elect pension, do I elect Social Security, because they have the backup cash flow, and more importantly is because Sally is old enough that there aren't any penalties to her because she's 60 years old. We can access her retirement assets to fill the gap if we want to. And certainly, we didn't really have a discussion at all about, is it possible that we could use after-tax assets, or could we use Roth assets? And the answer is, yeah. Having capital gives you choices, but more importantly, being able to precisely predict or project how much cash flow that you need puts you in a position, I think, to really make better choices. And then obviously if they change their minds about things, or if Sally decides to work more or less, if she continues eligibility. I mean, there are a lot of options that are here for them, but having a game plan gives them the foundation to be able to make good decisions. And I think that we need to take break number 2 of this hour. We'll be here to answer your phone calls and texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages. The Retirement Coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
St. Louis Auto Show returns January 22nd through the 25th at the Americas Center. Bring the whole family and explore hundreds of new vehicles from the world's biggest automotive brands. Then, get up close and personal with the coolest, most expensive rides ever created at the $1 Million Mile. There's even something for the kids with our Mid-America Chevy dealers, Sponsored Kids Zone. Get your tickets today at stlautoshow.com. Kids 12 and under get in free. That's stlautoshow.com.
For 20 years, Gateway to Hope has stood beside individuals and families facing breast cancer. And today our patients need us more than ever with rising costs and tough decisions. This year alone, we have helped more than 1,000 patients access breast care health and provided $450,000 in financial assistance. And as we close this anniversary year, please consider making a gift at gthmo.org. Together we can ease these burdens and work toward ensuring patients no longer have to make these impossible choices. That's gthmo.org.
Hey, it's Heidi, and I've only sold 2 houses, but I know how stressful it can be. I also know the team at Lauren Risley Realty makes the entire process as easy as possible. I watched Lauren work with friends and my parents, and I can say she is top-notch. She doesn't just know the market. She knows what to look for in a home, and that includes red flags. And through all of it, she is calm, cool, and kind. So if you're in the market to buy or sell a home, or if you just have a question, call Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684, or go to LaurenRisleyRealty.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 9:47 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We've got about 10 minutes left on hour number 1. You don't want to touch that dial because hour number 2 is going to even be more fun. Hopefully we'll have more of your calls and texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from text line. I know the snow's not in their house. They can't grab their phones. We'd love to hear from you, so please give us a text. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Unless you're passed out like my wife at home, which is okay. So I have a couple of things I wanted to touch base on this morning. We've got about 10 minutes left while I'm waiting for your calls and texts. And so I guess let's go into, have I accumulated enough assets so I can retire comfortably? You know, it's interesting because this is really not a question that most folks asked 10, 20, 30 years ago. We're in a different age. Pensions, Social Securities. Those are the primary sources of income for folks. But back in 1990, IRAs came out, and we began to saw a not so subtle shift from company-sponsored pension plans to defined contribution plans, i.e., 401ks, where we're being asked to contribute. The environment has changed, and everyone has their own magic number. And there really, I think, in my mind, there are 5 factors that are kind of involved in developing what is your number. The first one certainly is the age you decide to retire. If you retire later in life, after age 62, your Social Security benefits are higher. Hopefully your assets have accumulated to a larger number, and that can help you. If you're younger, then guess what? It just depends. What are the sources of income that are available to you? Do you have real estate rental income? Are you going to continue any type of part-time work, consulting, whatever it would be after retirement? Do you have beneficiary IRAs? I mean, there are lots of reasons. There are lots of possible other income sources that we would call these non-traditional. The cost to maintain the lifestyle that you want. And I'm not talking about, do I drink expensive wines or not? What I'm really talking about here is how you've dealt with your debt obligations. Do you have them? Are they punishing you? Are they not punishing you? When will they be leaving? The timing of these going out can be extremely important. And maybe a more important one is your health. Longevity is a big deal. And, unfortunately, we've had folks that have come to us that have had chronic illnesses. Their life expectancy is reduced. And they want to try to get the most out of the years that they have here. That's cool. I mean, that's great. If you're in great health, well, then we got to plan for a long retirement. And then finally is your marital status. Single versus married versus widow, widower, divorced, etc. Your marital status can have a very big impact upon the cash flow, whether you have somebody helping you with your cash flow or not. So those are kind of the 5 factors, and, it's not an easy process, but what we want to do is, again, have a good grasp on what your spending is. How much does it cost to maintain? If you think of yourself or your family life as a small business, how much does it cost to open the doors every day? That's the big deal. Because as we know, you can only deficit spend for so long. So we want to make sure that we're in an equilibrium for spending. When do we make the choices to turn on and off the faucets, as I like to say, which is Social Security pension benefits? We know that these decisions sometimes can be difficult, but also in many cases they're also irreversible. So we want to, if we can, we want to make the best decisions in the moment and do them at the most appropriate times. And then finally, something that I've learned after doing this for 25 years is that you have to be prepared for things to go wrong, because they always do. It's just, it isn't always a ride on the good ship lollipop. It's just not. I mean, things happen health-wise for folks. Some things happen, unfortunately, to children, to parents, to spouses. Some things are financial and are unplanned. Some things are health-wise, obviously, and are definitely unplanned. But none of those things have to do with where your money is invested or how your money is invested. So I guess at the end of the day, Aaron and I and Rob, we continually stress to the folks that we work with, and obviously to our listeners, because you're the folks that become clients, the folks that listen to us. Understanding your numbers and gearing your portfolio then to deliver the returns that are necessary to make those numbers happen is our goal. What happens in the markets on a daily basis is certainly something that we pay attention to, but it doesn't drive our decision-making. What we want to try to do is we want to pattern all these on money. So let's talk a little bit about the algebra. Joe and Sally have, some folks, we only have Joe and Sally. This is set number 643rd. They're currently spending $7,000 per month. We gross that, of course, by 20% to say, okay, they need $8,000 a month in their hands each month. Their Social Security combined amounts are running about $4,500 at this point. Joe worked, was more full-time. Sally was part-time. Wasn't hitting the maximum benefits under Social Security. So they're approximately short about $3,900 a month. Well, when we try to figure out then what the milk money is, they're short about $3,000 a month. So what happens is we have to figure out what's their magic number. Well, it's pretty easy. We take $3,000, we multiply by 12, $36,000. We divide that by 4%, our prune withdrawal rate. That tells us that the milk money that they need, the capital they need to keep in place to generate this income over long periods of time, hopefully reasonably safe, not necessarily safer, prudently invested, needs to be about $900,000, which is great. Now, we know that they have a vault now of $75,000, which is nice. So they really are in a position where they can deal with emergencies. They've also told us that they want to do a kitchen redo, which is going to run about $50,000. So it's not a super big one, but it's a major one. We also know that 3 years down the road, they want to replace a car, approximately $40,000, and they're getting ready for that first big, extraordinary family vacation, not one that they typically spend as much as they are today. And they're saying we want to put aside another $12,000. So between all of those, their total need, in addition to the milk money, is approximately $175,000. So the total capital that we need for them to make their plan work is approximately $1 million. Well, fortunately for them, they have $2.1 million in 401k and IRAs. They have another $60,000 in Roth assets and approximately $70,000 in near cash. So not only are they rock stars, but they're also in a position where they have choices, and we have choices in terms of how do we deliver this income to them. Where do we take money from to deal with these capital projects that they have, and when? So that what we can try to do is minimize the income tax impact that they have, because naturally we don't want to pull everything from pre-tax assets. At the same time, we don't want to drain their Roth, because, again, that really is something that's, additional, if you want to call it, it's additional vault money. So we're going to have to play a little bit of a timing game with them in terms of doing that. But the truth is, that's the fun about being a coach. So being rock stars is wonderful. They're in a position to do that. And it's now just really a matter of us designing their portfolio in such a way as to deliver the returns that they need. And at the same time also making sure that from a cash flow point of view, from a liquidity point of view, that we have money available to them to deal with these various projects on a tax-efficient basis when they're needed. Those are the type of conversations that we love to have with clients, and hopefully those are the conversations you're having with your advisor. If you don't have one, it's not easy talking to yourself. Might be chuckling out there saying that, but it just isn't. When you're doing these things on your own, you're on an island. It's good to be able to bounce these ideas off of someone else who hopefully is not just only your cheerleader, as I like to call us with our clients, but also can play devil's advocate, can give you other ideas or thoughts that may not have come to you, either because A, you weren't aware of options were available, or B, maybe these are things that you didn't want to consider, but after having a discussion, they become more prudent. So it's always good to get a second opinion on just about everything you do. I always like to say, and I heard somebody say this, is that, if the greatest coaches, if the greatest athletes in the world have coaches, shouldn't you have one too? Well, of course. And, if it's a professional, that's somebody that maybe can help you a little bit more. Certainly spouse, trusted friend, a parent, in many cases, especially if you're younger and doing that, can also make sense as well. But for those folks that are listening to the show, that aren't clients, that are 55 and older, that are thinking about retirement or within 5 years, or maybe getting ready to retire, it's easy. All you need to do is either go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Again, that's jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us section. Press a note. Tell us what you're thinking. If you'd like to come in for a coaching session, it's fun. It's free at our offices in Olivet. We have the best coffee in town. We'll spend anywhere from 1 to hour and a half with you on the front end. Talk about where you are, where you'd like to go. How can we best help you? Or you can call our office, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. And do us one other favor. Don't touch that dial, because we'll be back with more Straight Retirement after these messages.
Mizzou football.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW St. Louis. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement, hour number 2. It's only Jeff today. The kiddies they took the day off, which they really needed to have today. Usually we start our second hour and we talk a little bit about Medicare. I'm going to take a few minutes to do that, not steal any of their thunder, but we're busy. I mean, this is easily the busiest year that we've had in helping folks with Medicare, and really the folks we're helping are you folks, our listeners. Probably, I don't know, maybe 400 to 450 folks that were newly enrolling in Medicare, as well as helping all of our current clients, thousands, confirm their choices. And we got one more week of annual enrollment. We know that's going to be followed for those folks that do have Medicare Advantage plans. The actually open enrollment, which runs from basically from January 1st through March. If you haven't made a selection at this point, we would love to help you after December the 7th. And that's easy to do. And what happens is if you were to elect coverage, to make a change in your coverage in January, it would become effective February 1st. But as we know, for everybody who's making elections today, those will happen on January 1. So it's all good. Again, I'm really proud that we started this Medicare project, I want to call it, approximately 13 years ago with Aaron. And we started with our first, 250 of our clients that were Medicare eligible. And now we're over 4,000. So it's fabulous. And again, thank you folks for supporting us. And at the same time, we're happy to help you make those choices. Things have grown so large that, we now have Frank Ellis, Frankie, as he likes to be called. And also Rob Markham, Aaron's husband, has also entered the fray. And you do hear him here every single week. So they've both been trained by Aaron, so they're good to go. We love that. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you this morning. I'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'm going to hit my text line here on a couple of things we have. State withholding is optional on required minimum distribution amount. However, the remaining amount distributed must have 20% or 20 and 25 from it. I'm not reading this very well, but the bottom line is that in the state of Missouri, what's happened is that we still do have an income tax, so we do withhold state taxes from your required minimum distributions. In Illinois, we don't have taxes on those benefits, so you don't actually have to withhold that money. We like to use 20 and basically or 15 and 5 because most of our clients we find are under 108,000 of taxable income, and that really puts them in an effective tax rate of approximately 15%, at least here in Missouri. Second text was, great show, Jeff. Thank you. I appreciate that. My requirement distribution for 2025 is $10,000, but I'd like to withdraw $20,000 instead, all of which would come from my 401k. I've been told that I can do that. And the answer is no. So let's talk about what happens. If you have money in a 401k, because this is a company-sponsored plan, whatever the required minimum distribution associated with that set of assets is automatically going to be pulled. Okay? They're going to send that to you. If you have another IRA, obviously that puts you in a position where you can pull $10,000 or you have to pull $10,000, you'll have to pull that as well. The 401k RMD withdrawal can't cover your other IRA assets withdrawal, but if the question is, maybe I'm misinterpreting this, I do apologize. You don't have to pull the minimum. You can always pull more if you like, and again, that will be subject to federal income tax, and that in many cases that can be okay. Many of our clients are increasing their distributions this year specifically because they're eligible for the Trump bump, which is that extra deduction that they're receiving up to $6,000 for themselves. If they have a spouse, another $6,000, which will help them reduce their taxes on Social Security benefits. So sometimes pulling the RMD minimum is not really the way you want to go. We also know the Trump bump is only going to go for 3 years, which is okay. So that's certainly something to consider. But if you're in a position where you have a 401k plan and you're over the age of 73, I really don't know why you would leave the money there and not transfer it into a self-directed IRA. There's one big disadvantage, if I might tell you, which is the only way that you can reduce the taxation on required minimum distributions is through charitable contributions. Those charitable contributions that are made directly from your IRA, not from you. In a self-directed IRA, most custodians should, and if not, trust me, we have one that does, will make those contributions for you. And that will reduce the gross amount of your RMD dollar for dollar. 401k plan sponsors aren't built to do that. So if you want to take advantage of charitable contributions, if you're making them, you want to reduce your income taxes due to the RMDs, you should be moving that money into a 401k plan. Next tester writes me, I'd like to get your opinion on a trust versus a beneficiary deed, POD, TOD, for a single person. And that's easy, okay? The bottom line is that what you want to consider here is that a trust is like a wall, okay? What you're doing is you're constructing a wall between your money and the people that are considered your beneficiaries. So what happens is if there's a reason for you to have this money behind the wall where they can't get at it immediately, and there could be reasons for that. You may feel the people that are the ultimate beneficiaries, maybe they're minors. They can't get the money. Maybe you might have someone child, grandchild, whoever it might be, that's special needs, where they're going to need continuing cash flow, but at the same time they're eligible for benefits from the state. And you don't want to jeopardize those benefits by giving them the asset. Maybe you've created what's called a special needs trust. That would be another reason. Maybe it's possible that your children are married. You love and you may love or not love the person they married, but at the same time, you don't want your assets to pass on if your child predeceases you to that spouse. You'd rather them jump over them and maybe go to a grandchild, etc., or even other people. You want to have a wall. Now, in the same vein, what a trust does, as well as a TOD or POD, which is payable on death, transfer on death, is what it does is it keeps those assets outside of probate. And that's good. But if you trust your beneficiaries to manage your money at your death, after your death, then the truth is you really don't need a trust, which is okay. Well, that's great. Oh, I must have hit a vein because the text line is open, which is wonderful. Let's get to some of these other texts as we go along here. I've been holding out on making a decision on my Medicare Advantage plan, waiting for Aetna and BJC to make a deal. Do you think it will happen? Well, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm holding out. I will tell you that my wife was the chief negotiator for BJC for 20 years. The deals always happen. They do, because we know that Medicare happens to be, and Medicare coverage happens to be a big part of every one of these carriers, their cash flow. So will it happen? The answer is yes. Will it happen before December 7th? I don't know. Is it going to happen before January 1st? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if you decide to hang on, and again, this is a comfort decision for you. If you decide to hang on and your provider, somehow your internists, really what we're talking about is BJC doctors, are in the network, if you have a PPO plan, then what will happen is you already have coverage. If you have urgent care, you already have coverage. You don't have to worry about it. At the same time, you also have a new open enrollment period, in which case then you only have 30 days and you'll be able to move over to a different carrier. Or at the same time, if you decide to jump ship, which is okay, you can go back during the next open enrollment period. So I would say if you're okay, you're okay. If not, jump ship. Next texter writes, we have Aetna Gold Advantage and go to Missouri Baptist. Good choice. Our second best selection is Humana. My question is, if we switch to Humana next week and BJC settles, can we go back? The answer is yes. You certainly can do that. Do I have any other information, insider or otherwise, on these negotiations? The answer is, I'm sorry, but I don't. Wish that I did. Next texter writes us, I love these texts, so please keep them coming, folks. We really do appreciate these questions at 84126. Or if you'd like to hear your voice on the radio. Sometimes I don't love to hear mine, but it's cool. 314-931-5877. Question is the Trump bump, I love that, above the line, or is it a tax credit? The answer is it's a deduction, so it's below the line. It's not a tax credit at this point. And what is it for a single taxpayer? There's some certain income limitations, but the bottom line is it's $6,000 if you're over 65, electing Medicare or electing Social Security. Aaron's a little bit more expert on this, but it's $6,000 if you're within the income limit. So I hope that helps you. Good question. This whole BJC Aetna deal, look, it's like anything else. I wish they would have fought this out earlier in the year. We know they're going to come to a conclusion. Aetna's the number 2 carrier in the country. They're not going to. And BJC is the number 1 provider network in terms of size and hospitals and physicians, all that stuff here in the city. So it's going to happen. It always does. It just never happens on a timely basis. Again, I appreciate your calls and your texts. Again, love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And at the same time, since I'm giving out numbers today, if you're motivated, if you're within 5 years of retirement, if you'd like to retire, if you'd like to visit with us in person, and we would love to see you for a coaching session, easy to do. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. Or if you prefer, you can always go to our website, hit the contact us section. Our website is jblfinancial.com. Obviously, incredibly creative name because of my initials. And hit the contact us section. Say, I'd like to come in for a coaching session, and our office manager, Kelly, will call you and arrange a time that's convenient for both of us to visit. It usually runs between, if it's me, it's usually 90 minutes. Erin's an hour. She doesn't tell as many Erin stories as I do, and that's kind of fun. But but we do promise that whether it's for financial or for Medicare, you're going to walk out a lot happier and have more clarity than you did when you came in, and that's really what it's all about for you. So again, we do appreciate that. And the truth is, we generally see one to two new folks, our listeners, every single week. And Usually between 50 and 75 of them every single year become clients, which is great. On the Medicare side, obviously we're seeing tons of people. And something that I guess I should mention is that Medicare planning, as you know, for us, isn't about open enrollment. We talk about Medicare every single week on the show. It's an important and vital function and part of our clients' long-term plans. Be able to help them understand what the cost of healthcare will be, helping them choose the right plan. And we're doing this, most of the business, truthfully, that we do is during the year for folks that are getting ready to retire, getting ready to make that transition. And what we're doing, we're advising them about, hey, do I go on to my spouse's plan if I have one? Do I go on to COBRA? Do I go to the Affordable Care Act? When do I do it? We're answering all those questions for them and then making sure that they do make that seamless transition from, we'll call it, employer-sponsored healthcare or individual healthcare to Medicare. And I did receive a question about how do we make sure that this, how does this become so seamless? Well, from the employer side, it's easy. What happens is if you're currently actively at work, you're over the age of 65. Many folks are continuing to work, and you decide to elect Medicare coverage at that time. What occurs is that you have what's called a special election period, which permits you to enter Medicare without any pre-existing conditions or Medicare premium penalties. And the way we get rid of those is we hand you what's called the employer form. Pretty simple, right? You go to your employer. They basically fill out the form. I mean, it only takes a minute, 45 seconds. And what they're telling Medicare is that you were covered prior to the time you're ready to leave their plan. And that gets rid of all the penalties. And it's easy. And actually, you staple that to your Medicare Part B application, and it works seamlessly. And it's interesting because I do have this conversation with my clients, my friends. And again, I don't do this. I don't do the Medicare side. But at the same time, I guess it's sort of important to understand the fundamentals here. Part A of Medicare is the part that you pay for through your payroll deductions, the withholdings that are done. Part B is the part that you pay after you're done working. And that's what costs you a monthly premium. They take that out of your Social Security benefit if you're receiving Social Security. If you're not receiving Social Security at the time you enroll in Medicare, well, you get to pay them a premium. You catch up until the time you elect your Social Security. At that time, what they then do is they start to take it out of your Social Security because the government doesn't trust you. They don't trust anybody. I don't blame them. They have your money. Why should they give it to you and then expect to get it back? No. They pull it. A plus B is what's really considered Medicare. That will cover 80% of most covered charges, not including prescription drugs. This supplement that we're talking about, whether it's a traditional supplement like a Plan G, which is the best one out there, or IFN, whatever there are, those numbers, or a Medicare Advantage plan, they're being used to fill the gap, that 20% gap that Medicare doesn't cover, and also for charges that are in excess of Medicare covered charges. You get to decide how you want to pay for that 20% piece. The cool part is that whomever you use as an insurer, whether it's a traditional supplemental plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, they have to follow the Medicare's rules. And truly, Medicare does rule because they're paying 80% of the benefits. If they don't want to play ball, they can get kicked out, and they don't want to get kicked out. So Medicare is really more consumer-driven than your employer plan, which honestly is employer-driven. All good. So, that's really kind of the process. And so what's important here is that we know that when we do make this transition, you're ready to do so. We help you do it on a timely basis, which is important. But number two is, you're in a position where maybe for the first time in your careers, in your life, you get to choose what your health plan looks like. How do you want to fill that gap? Do you want to pay as you go? That's called Medicare Advantage. Or do you want to pay a premium to an insurance company on the front end, have a deductible, and not have money come out of your pocket. Roll the dice, not roll the dice. It's really up to you. Old world, new world. It's very important. But again, the cool part is it's up to you. You get to guess. And with a Medicare Advantage plan, we have this annual enrollment period where you can change your mind. If we have issues like we have now with PJC, you can jump ship. If a carrier decides they want to get aggressively back into the market, you can jump ship. No pre-existing additions happens on January 1. I mean, really the big deal is making sure your medications are switched over, but making the best match we can with your physicians is important. And what's cool is then, folks, you wouldn't know this, but we do. This region is maybe one of the richest regions in the country when it comes to the size, the breadth of these networks, and the costs that are here. This is like Medicare heaven as compared to the East Coast, as compared to the West Coast, as compared to going south. Okay? A lot of physicians are participating in this network, so you can keep your doctor. The networks are robust, including the specialists. And at the same time, which of these formularies is matching you the best way? We're able to do that. We can put this in. We go into Medicare's computer. What happens is it spits out the cost. We have it there for you. It's easy. And we'll keep you up to date, so it's all good. So, again, we do have some more phone calls and texts. I want to begin to take these after we take break number 1 of this hour. So do me a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Truck drivers, wherever you want to take your driving career in 2026, Schneider has an opportunity for you. Our huge selection of driving jobs means you can get the home time that suits your schedule. Choose from daily, weekly, monthly, or sometime in between. Plus, Schneider drivers can choose from dedicated, intermodal, dry van, and tanker options. Don't wait to upgrade your career before the new year. Search jobs and apply now at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
As St. Louisans, many of us fondly remember our first tram ride to the top of the Gateway Arch. This Giving Tuesday, help St. Louis children experience the wonders of their hometown national park by making a gift to Gateway Arch Park Foundation's Journey Fund. The Journey Fund covers the cost of transportation, meals, tram rides, and more for students and teachers from under-resourced schools in our community. Make a Giving Tuesday donation today by visiting archpark.org.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. We're about halfway through hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. Still open for your phone calls and texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the Getting the Hot and Heavy text line, which, folks, I do appreciate it. The old man needs a little help this morning, so thank you. I'm glad you're waking up. Can you imagine waking up 3 inches of snow? Now it's 5 inches. Just crazy stuff. You're right. I should have packed up. I should be in Florida by now, but we got to wait till Tuesday. All good. So this is a good one, and I'm not going to take a half hour on this, by the way. Could you explain the differences between COBRA versus employer retiree plans and the Affordable Care Act? Great. So I'll try to give you it's very simple explanation here. An employer retiree plan is one that is generally a continuation of the health plan that's already in place. It's subsidized by the employer for the benefit of not current active participants. They obviously going to charge different premium because you're not fully enrolled. So it's a plan, really mostly a continuation of your current plan. COBRA is the federally mandated benefits for companies with employees of 20 or above. They require them to extend benefits, your current benefit plan, to you as the employee for 18 months. For everybody else, it's generally 36 months. You're continuing that plan, but instead of the employer sponsor or subsidizing a portion of the premium, you get to pay the entire premium plus up to 2% as an administrative charge. The Affordable Care Act is basically individual health insurance that was created to fill the gap between when employer plans stop, whether it's voluntary work, whether it's the end of COBRA, and before you hit Medicare. It's individual coverage for folks not covered by a group. There are four different plans in place: the platinum, the gold, the silver, the bronze. Okay, and nobody wants the bronze, but it's cheap. Higher deductibles, you're paying 100% of the premium. Guarantee issue, which is kind of nice, and typically our clients are only using that as a bridge to get them from their COBRA coverage ending to Medicare. So a little hint here, when you're thinking about your planning, you can't take COBRA benefits, your current employer's plan, past age 65 Medicare eligibility, because Medicare doesn't recognize that as substitute coverage and similar coverage, and therefore, guess what happens? You begin to incur the lifetime Medicare Part B penalty, as well as the Part D penalty on the drugs part. So you don't want to do that. In many cases, when if you're trying to time when do I retire, the earliest you would want to retire, or I should say the latest, depends on how you feel about this, is at 63 and a half. At 63 and a half, you'll have 18 months if you do retire and you're not Medicare eligible. You could elect COBRA coverage. Employer has to give it to you for 18 months and then seamlessly go on to Medicare. You enroll in Part B a month beforehand. We help you we help you choose a plan that best fits your doctor's and prescription combination, as well as what you're doing. Surgeries, doctor visits, etc. And then you seamlessly move. If you have more than 18 months, then you got to go to the ACA plan. Why do you do it? Because you don't want to have a break in coverage. It could devastate you financially, number one. And that's really what the big deal is. So hopefully that answered some of your questions. Again, ACA is an individual contract. COBRA is an extension of benefits available to you federally because you're no longer associated with a employer-sponsored plan. An employer retiree plan is basically just a plan that they're subsidizing to continue the benefit coverage that you have. All good. Let's see. The next question was, and this is again, will my benefits change if I collect will my Social Security benefits change if I collect a few months before my 70th birthday as opposed to waiting until then? The answer is the benefits would be a little bit different, but it's minuscule. Your Social Security benefits increase 8% per year. So 8% divided by 12 months, okay? So however long you... And again, the 8% is over the whole year. So in other words, I don't know what the calculation is, okay, what the percentage is, but per day. So it will be a little bit less, but not significantly less. Obviously, you have to do it at 70 because your benefits don't continue to compound after the age of 70 with your Social Security benefits. So very good question. Do appreciate that. When you say, and question, Jeff, when you say jump ship, do you mean change doctors or change plans? What I was referring to was changing plans. You can always change your physicians, and that's not a big deal. But if you're with a BJC medical group physician, somebody who's hooked with them, or your specialists are, you're really talking about changing to a different network, the Mercy network, right, or the SSM network of physicians, because your BJC docs aren't covered. So if you want to keep your physicians, make sure they're covered. They are covered by other plans, United Healthcare, Humana, Anthem, etc. It's just that they're not covered currently through their contract with Aetna. So you can't jump ship, or you can't change physician. You can do both, but as far as I was talking about, really was changing plans, changing insurance companies. And there certainly are some other things that you want to consider in that process. We talk about the goodies, the extra benefits. What's the non-pharmacy benefit? It happens to be that United Healthcare has a very good one. What about dental benefits? Well, at this point in time, Humana happens to have a good one. Well, what if you're like me, where you're somebody that's going to be here, maybe spending time in St. Louis, but also spending time in another state, an elongated period of time? Do I want to have the ability to see physicians that are associated with that insurance company, but in a different area? Not all companies are national plans. That could be an important and deciding factor as well for you. So again, just something to consider. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Do I need to take my second break yet? Let's take a second break, and then we'll run for the next 20 minutes or so after that. So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Shop, snack, and be merry on a Wind Down Wednesday, December 3rd from 3 to 9 at the Hill Antique Market's Christmas Extravaganza. The Heidi Show will be there from 3 to 6. There'll be a cash bar and snacks. You'll get 10% discount on merchandise all day. Santa will be there from 4 to 7. There'll be raffles and plenty of surprises, and you'll help support more than 75 local vendors and pop-up stores. That's Wednesday, December 3rd from 3 to 9 at the Hill Antique Market's Christmas Extravaganza at 4923 Daggett on the Hill.
St. Louis Auto Show returns January 22nd through the 25th at the America's Center. Bring the whole family and explore hundreds of new vehicles from the world's biggest automotive brands. Then, get up close and personal with the coolest, most expensive rides ever created at the $1 Million Mile. There's even something for the kids with our Mid-America Chevy dealers, Sponsored Kids Zone. Get your tickets today at stlautoshow.com. Kids 12 and under get in free. That's stlautoshow.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
More than 220 adults with developmental disabilities are building independent lives, with Emmaus supporting them every step of the way. At Emmaus, we believe everyone deserves a chance to make choices, grow friendships, and live full, meaningful lives in their own communities. This Giving Tuesday, December 2nd, your gift will make a difference for adults with disabilities. Donate today at emmaushomes.org/Giving Tuesday. Together, we are building a world for spirited people living spirited lives.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
I had to do that. I'm feeling good this morning. We've got about 20 minutes left in hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement, here to answer your questions, answer your texts. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Got some really good text this morning. I love that. Are health care premiums able to be used as deductible medical expenses at tax time? The answer is yes, but they and your out-of-pocket medical expenses have to exceed, I believe it's 10% of it, maybe 7.5%, but a large number of a part of your adjusted gross income. So in general, health care premiums don't really help you unless you're a self-employed person, and then you can use them as an employee benefit, which is kind of cool. Well, great. Here we go. And here was a text that they gave me part of it. Now I got all of it. My wife is age 67. Mine is can't say it on the air, right? Okay. Now I'm in trouble. They always thought she was 37. She does look that way, though. She just inherited a traditional IRA from her 96-year-old mom. My wife turned 68 in December. I know we use a 1231 balance to determine the RMD for the next year. Do I use age 67 or age 68 for my wife's RMD factor? Thank you. I appreciate you saying thank you, because you're not going to be thanking me after you get the answer to this question. Because your mother-in-law passed away this year, she is your wife's distribution rule. She is subject to the 10-year distribution rule, and she inherits your mother-in-law's RMD schedule as well. So it isn't 66 or 60. It's not 67 or 68. It's actually 96, which means that you're going to have to pull about 10% per year. Hope that answers your question. I mean, I know it answers your question, but look it up on Google if you don't believe me. It's all good. During the show, I heard you use the term near cash assets. What fits into that category? That's great. To me, near cash assets could be money market accounts. They could be certificates of deposit. They could also be, I don't know, most people don't have it, but you could have notes. Something that's liquid, something that can be turned into cash very quickly. At the same time, I like to think of Roth IRA assets that are mature enough. That is, the account's been open for 5 years. You're over 59.5. You can convert that to cash, and there's no income tax effect. So to me, that's what cash or near cash assets they mean. Also, it could be money staffed away in your vault, but that's cool. It is what it is. Very good. Does using the 4% rule evenly deplete retirement accounts, or is there a way to use this rule to continue to grow retirement accounts? Okay. So, to answer your question generically, if you have a pot of money and you pull 4%, the entire pot of money is going to be diminished by 4%. At the same time, if that pot of money is invested and it grows, depending upon the rate of return of the assets of that pot, you can grow all or some of it back or even more. I think what you might be asking me, or something that, frankly, from a planning perspective there, and I do, is that we generally isolate the milk money. That is the pool of money that we're pulling assets or we're pulling income from, separate from other assets. In doing that, that gives us an opportunity to invest them in different ways. So, as an example, let's just assume that let's use one of the Joe and Sally illustrations I did earlier today. So, Joe and Sally need $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year divided by 4%. We need $900,000 to be in the milk money pot. But then they also have another, I don't care, $500 or $5 million of assets over that $900,000. Just depends on their goals. If they're moderate investors, and that is somebody that says, I know I need to earn 4 to keep even, but at the same time, I also want to beat the rate of inflation, and I want to cover income tax costs. That would really lead us to be wanting to invest in a model that has an opportunity to earn between 6 and 9%, and that would be a moderate model, etc. But again, let's just say with Joe and Sally, in the example that I gave, is that their pots start to grow. I gave this example last week about one of our clients who grew from like 900 over time to like $1 million something, and that their withdrawal percentage went down. Well, what that did was maybe that put them in a position where if they wanted to, the balance of their assets that are outside of the milk money, they could maybe more aggressively invest it. Maybe for growth purposes, either for consumption or, truthfully, for the kids. And if those assets, again, I think we have to really think about, again, a little bit further, where are these assets at? Are they in retirement accounts? Are they in Roth? Or are they in TOD/trust accounts? Because we know that at death, non-retirement assets that are inherited by children, grandchildren, etc., they step up to the fair market value of that account at the date of death. So all the capital gains are forgiven if they decide they want to sell the securities in that account. If they want to sell that later, after the date of death, in theory they would. I mean, if the assets have grown, well, then the capital gain that they would be associated with this at sale is the difference between the value at the date of death and the value at the time of the sale. It could be, if it's within a year, it would be a short-term capital gain. But the bottom line is, most of the gain, if there is a large gain, is forgiven. If I have an account that's like that, and also I'm in a situation where I don't need that account to help generate milk money for me, or I also don't need that account to help me in terms of dealing with, like I like to call these non-recurring capital expenses that you might have, whether it's redoing the kitchen or a car or whatever it would be. And I really want these to be, and I know they're going to be inherited by somebody else, I don't think there's a problem in having more of a growth perspective on those, right? Maybe a little riskier, but at the same time, when we talk about risk, we're talking about volatility, bigger highs, bigger lows, so that they could be inherited and those capital gains would be forgiven. And the answer is yeah. I mean, I would certainly do that. So what I like to do, Aaron and I like to do this, and we do this with every client, is we really divide their money into 4 pots. And it isn't necessarily 4 accounts, but it's 4 pots. Pot number 1 is the milk money. What assets are we assigning specifically, or accounts are we assigning specifically to deal with the income need that they have? Number 2 is then we have what's called the vault. Assets that are held aside, near cash assets or cash assets in a certain amount that meets their liquidity safety needs. And that's separate from the milk money. If there is excess money that's left, well, I'm sorry, that's not true. We also then create a pot for what we call these capital expenditures, short-term things that we know within usually a 2-3 year period, they're going to consume capital. Because we know that we frankly don't want money invested at risk if we need that money within 12 months. We just don't want to do it. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you need $40,000 for a car and you put it into a fund, and what happens is it goes down by 20%. Well, you don't have the money anymore. We don't want to do that. And then finally, there's what I like to call is growth or fun money. Either growing it for somebody else or growing it for you so that you can have a little fun with it. And what I mean by fun is it could be consumption, but at the same time it could be growth. And for some people, maybe it's called, this is money I'm taking to the casino, Jeff, and Aaron, and you aren't investing it. It's all good. Having assets and assigning them specific purposes or functions in your portfolio doesn't sound like a dumb idea, does it? Well, it really isn't. And I would tell you that if you do that, it will change your perspective on not only how you're investing, but how you're being invested. And I think it's also easier then to, when you're working with somebody, at least with our clients, we have benchmarks. This is what we're attempting to. We're going against benchmarks in terms of similar portfolios. We're also going in benchmarks in terms of our needs, our goals. Are we meeting those benchmark returns? And then If we are, then we can see that in most of our cases, if we are, let's just put it this way, if we were in a situation where we were investing clients' money and they were exceeding the benchmark return, which obviously would be 4%, then what's happening is that if they're not withdrawing that money, those excess gains, what happens is, guess what? Their withdrawal percentage goes down. They're going into the safety zone. So let's use an example. Let's go back, Joe and Sally again. $900,000 of milk money. Let's assume that we pull 4%, $36,000, but it grows by 10%. Grows by $90,000. Well, now we're sitting here in an account balance of approximately, let's say, I'm doing my math in my head, $956,000. Let's assume that happens for 2 or 3 years. You're at $1 million. Let's say you get to $1.2 million, like we have talked about one of our clients the other week. Well, 36,000 from 900 is 4%, but 36,000 from $1.2 million is 3%. So now you're getting deep into the safety corridor, which gives you an opportunity to, guess what? Do other stuff. With this particular friend of mine, very good friend, client of mine, I'm going to text him when we get off the show. I'm like, hey, bro, why are you here? Snowing. The courts are closed. Probably can't play golf for at least 2-3 weeks to a month, maybe if you even could. What are we doing here in the winter? Let's get out of town. Or, you know what, we've been wanting to do this huge family super vacation. I have clients that are doing this. Is great. Like, we're taking all the kids on a cruise. It's going to cost us like, $20,000. Okay, great. Another client called the other day. This Aaron talked about this about a month ago. They're doing a 4-month cruise. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's 100, whatever. It's like 100,000 or something. Okay. Is that going to affect is that going to tip the apple cart? The answer is, like in this particular case, no. It's great. Sticking by your game plan, having goals, measuring them, monitoring them, having your advisor accountable for them, that's all part of a good relationship. I mean, that's really, I think, really where you want to go. Because the markets are volatile. It's up and down. I mean, look at this year. This year, this is an up year. And it's a pretty decent one if you take for most people, if you take a look at your, account balances. But talk to me in March. Right? We had like a 15% downturn. Recovered it all back. We have this almost every year. Ebbs and flows. Stay invested. That's the whole point. Portfolios that are dedicated with purpose, money that is being allocated for specific purposes. Every asset has a function. We found that by basically melding these two concepts together with, again, the overriding consideration, which is what's it cost to maintain your life? Having your spending being the key to the entire plan, not what your pay is. And you know why. Look at your paycheck, if you have one. You're not bringing home more than 60% of your pay. It's going for federal taxes. It's going to retirement plan contributions. It's going for, you're giving money, if you're giving away money to United Way. I mean, health insurance premium, dental. Most people don't bring home 60% of their paycheck. It's cool. How much do you actually have left at the end of the month? How much is your savings grown at the end of the year? Then you can figure out what is my life? What's my spending? I mean, let's be honest. If you don't like how you're spending your money, then change it. It's not up to, we're not Susie Orman. We're not going to tell you what to do. Lower this, do that. That's not our job. I mean, I drink Coca-Cola. I don't drink wine. I'm not grown up enough to do that yet. My friends, they humor me, and, they drink Jameson. You know what I'm saying? I don't drink alcohol just because I don't like the taste of it. But I do play golf, which is expensive. So whatever your life is, it is. If we build it to what you're spending, Works out great. And, the cool part is the anecdotal. I can just tell you that 600-plus families that we're doing this for, no one's ever asked us for a raise. Never. Even in times of high inflation, they've never asked us for more. We don't have enough money. Why? Because we did it to their spending. And the other thing is behind that, and we've talked about this on occasion, and frankly, you don't read this on the internet or in the literature, is that there is an expense to going to work that's very difficult to quantify, whether it's clothes, whether it's food, whether it's gas, whether it's Girl Scout cookies you're buying, whatever it would be. There's an expense there every day. We don't attempt to quantify it to you, but I will tell you that when people stop, that becomes like the fudge factor, the inflation factor into their budget, into their spending. Maybe that's why I never asked for money. And then we're smart about, we look at what income tax bracket they're going to be in. We withhold enough money. People don't really ever ask us for money on income tax unless they aren't withholding money on Social Security. And that's pretty. And by the way, you can go back to Social Security and ask them to withhold income taxes for you. It's just a form. It takes a little effort, but it does make sense to do that. It's all good, but the horse is the algebra. That's the driving engine. What are you spending and what do you see spending? Second part is the portfolio, developing the portfolio to deliver the returns that you need. Having you grow it prudently. Don't need to hit home runs. St. Louis, it's called Whitey ball. We want to hit singles every day. That's the whole point. We want to keep hitting singles. We want to keep hitting our benchmarks. We want to continue to do that. Because for many folks, who are they growing the money for? Like we had a single person here was asking, or somebody the single asked a question. We have clients that are widows, widowers. Some don't have children. It's like, well, who are you growing the money for? Is it for a charity? I mean, that's cool. Do you really care? Is it for nieces, nephews? What? Maybe you're estranged from them, whatever. I mean, growth is good for fun. I mean, growth is fun to watch money grow, and we love for that. Obviously, that's what we want our clients to do. I mean, we're about greed for them. But preserve, protect, and prudently grow. And you can get to where you want to go. If you have a game plan, if you have a set of principles that you're following, if you have benchmarks. And the answer is you can, which is just great. So here we go. Follow-up. So the mother-in-law is 96 years old. That's great. My mom's 92, so good luck. I hope my mom gets to 96. For the next year, RMD is required, but what about 2027? Is it not 97? The answer is yes. You're following her timeline. Okay? And you say, thank you, just want to follow the rules. It's smart to do that. Because what happens is, just so you know, the custodian that's holding those IRA assets, they're going to tell you what it is, by the way, at the beginning of the year on your January statement. So you don't have to worry about that. And your financial advisor will help you pull this together if that's something that's needed to be done. So again, I would remind everybody, if our listeners, if you're 55 and older, if you're getting ready to retire or you're already retired and you'd like to meet with us, we would love to see you. Easy to do, 314-863-0008. 314-863-0008. See you next week.
35 years, Candici's has been offering gourmet Italian cuisine at an exceptional value, and it continues today with Candici's Catering and Express, now offering catering 7 days a week for lunch or dinner. Same great name, same great food, and now we bring it to you. Holiday parties, office parties, family gatherings, small or large. Let us serve you. Go to Candici's.net to learn more, and we will take care of the rest. That's Candici's.net. Candici's Catering and Express.
If opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more